Welcome back to another week of Instigating with Clarkey and Drury, brought to you by our friends at Conway Furniture, Highway 86, east end of Listowel. Our friends over at Larry Hudson, Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, and of course the Listowel Squash Courts. Ryan Drury back here with Clarkey, and we're very pleased to be joined by another great special guest this week. Another friend from the Homestand Leafs world. We've talked to Albert enough. Look, we bug Albert enough, okay? Now it's time to get the other side of Homestand Leafs. He says he's the anti-establishment guy, and he is. This guy brings the fire every week on Homestand Leafs. We're very pleased to be joined by Justin Pooni. Justin, how are you, man?
Oh, that was the best intro I ever got, man. I appreciate it. Glad to talk about something other than the Leafs, because we were just saying before we recorded, it's only so much Mitch Marner to Nashville trade talks I can handle in a day. And then you got Albert saying, well, his crazy philosophies that he has. So hopefully we can have some good chats today, boys. Looking forward to it.
Well, let's start, of course. Now, despite being the co-host of one of the best Leaf podcasts out there, ladies and gentlemen, we tell you all the time, download and subscribe Homestand Leafs. Now, despite that, Justin Pooni is a Vancouverite and he's a Canucks fan. So let's just talk about it. How are we feeling? How are we recovering after a tough game 6 and 7 against the Oil?
Game 6, I kind of figured that it was going to be, I thought after game 5, after the Canucks dominated game 5, that, go to Edmonton, Skinner's back in net, rattle him. They didn't. They had their worst performance of the playoffs, I think. And then going into game 7, I think I was still positive that on home ice, Sheeloffs was amazing, that, the guys would be ready. But as you guys saw in the first 40 minutes or the first 30 minutes of that game, they just didn't show up. It looked like they were cement in their skates. That 4-minute power play was an absolute killer. You give thank God it was Connor Brown with a breakaway, not somebody else, because that would have been 1-0 early on. And then the resiliency factor, that was kind of the theme of the Canucks this whole playoff run and this whole season, was the resiliency. And they came back, and gosh, if Nikita Zadorov just moved like an inch over and that JT Miller shot was able to hit the net, I think they could have tied it up. But it was tough. It was tough. But I think Rick Tocchet said it perfectly. The Jack Adams winner, they brought pride back to this city and pride back to that crest. And as you guys probably watched, like, the Canucks fans have always been known as trolls and as, fair weather fans and stuff like that. What this playoff run did was it put the fan base in the city of Vancouver as a hockey market back on the map. And you got to see just how electric Rogers Arena was. It certainly was louder than Scotiabank Arena every single night. And I think it just brought, as somebody who's seen different iterations of the Canucks franchise, from the Bertuzzi, Naslund, Morrison years to the Luongo, Sedin years to the last 10 years of darkness, to see a team led by these guys and bring back just the joy of watching Canucks hockey, I think that was my biggest takeaway. So yeah, it did sting, but I think immediately, and I think anybody who watches hockey and understands the game know that this team has a solid core and a solid foundation moving forward.
You mentioned that it was louder than Scotiabank Arena. I don't doubt that. The rioting that happens after they lose is a lot louder too. But listen, hey, what there's problems there in Vancouver, like there are here in Toronto with the superstars. Like, what happened to Pettersson? Where was he?
Yeah, so look, they did their media availability today. Pettersson comes out and says he's been dealing with a knee injury since January. That got progressively worse and worse. Yeah, I see that. And I have the same thing. You're getting paid $11.6 million. You need more than one goal right now. Was this his first playoff run and kick at the can? Yes, but that is not an excuse. I saw a guy like Quinn Hughes who didn't play his best, but Quinn Hughes is being targeted by every single forward on Nashville and Edmonton. Every time they would dump the puck in, there was guys going in to lay the lumber on him. And you knew he was injured, and today he never mentioned an injury at all. And that to me was just a different, more proof that they made the right decision in making Quinn Hughes the captain. But back to the Pettersson front, look, I still have belief that he can be a guy. This guy had 100 points and 89 points in a down year. Like, the skill set is there. It's just a mentality factor. Can he, switch that mentality, understand that, hey, playoff time, you got to raise your level up. I saw that with JT Miller, saw that with Brock Besser, saw that with Quinn Hughes to some degree, saw that with Connor Garland, a guy who was guys wanted him out of town, but ended up becoming one of the unsung heroes this year. So with Pettersson, there's still faith, but it's like Marner. You get paid to produce not only in the regular season, but you have to produce when it matters the most in the playoffs. And for this team, that's what's going to matter now going forward.
And it's tough too, as a Leaf fan knows, to lose a big player in Game 7.
Yeah,
Besser, and not having your goalie for most of the series.
Absolutely.
Demko, yeah.
And Besser came out today and said that he actually broke his finger in the Nashville series back in Game 3 and played through it. He scored 7 goals after he broke his finger, so that shows you just how good he was. But blood clots, look, he came out again today and said that he tried to play and wanted to let it go. But when you're looking at something as serious as that, play the cautionary tale and play it safe. And look, hopefully he gets a full offseason and he can repeat this, because of Brock Besser, when he came in the league, was projected to be a 40-goal scorer. Didn't hit that his whole career for various reasons. Went through a tragedy losing his father. But this year, you saw a motivated Brock Besser, and you just saw what he can truly become. And I think for Canucks fans, for Rick Tocchet, for Patrick Allvin, you hope that same Brock Besser comes back.
Yeah, he was great. Go ahead, Clarkey.
No, I just wanted to ask, the Canucks haven't been exactly, great the last few years. And how close do you think they came to blowing it up and trading JT Miller and trading Besser and those guys and maybe even Demko? There was a lot of talk, at least from an outsider's point of view, hearing all those rumors for years.
Yeah, and I think it all started back when they fired Jim Benning, thankfully, and they brought in Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin. And one of the things, and Albert could attest to this too, is that we talk about Homestand Leafs, is when you want to build a championship roster, it starts from the top to the bottom. So that starts with, of course, ownership. And we know Canucks ownership has had the knack in the past to get involved and be hands-on. Well, when you bring a guy in like Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin, who have a pedigree of winning Stanley Cups recently in Allvin's case, and then Rutherford going back to his time in Carolina, you give the reins to them. And that's what Francesco Aquilini has done. And when Rutherford came in, he said, I'm going to assess everything. This team was in cap hell. They had a whole lot of problems. And I think the change really started when they traded Bo Horvat. Everybody here, myself included, was upset that they basically chose JT Miller over Bo Horvat. Remember, Horvat was a guy who was the captain, a homegrown guy, a guy who was, playing at the peak of his powers when he got dealt. And you just saw that once that deal left and that even the elephant in the room was gone, you just saw how much JT Miller kind of assumed that role of being the leader, the heart and soul of the Canucks. And he's taken his game to another level, 100-point guy. And after that, you kind of saw this with Rick Tocchet coming in, how they decide to really go in on the back end, right? You see the teams with the remaining in the Stanley Cup playoffs right now. Florida, New York, right? Dallas, deep, big back ends. That's how you win in the playoffs. And that's where the Canucks started to change. Once they brought in Rick Tocchet and Patrick Allvin and Jim Rutherford, they brought a structure back in. Because with Bruce Boudreau and with Jim Benning, there wasn't really any structure, just spinning your wheels constantly.
Yeah, it's been an interesting rise, and a first place finish in the division, obviously, kind of cemented their status as being a serious team again, which is great to see. And I love Vancouver. My best friend lives there. I went to a game this year. The atmosphere, I gotta say, I talked about it on the show when I came back from that trip, Clarkey. It was electric in there. They played Dallas the night I went. It was a 2-0 win. Demko made a huge save early, and it was rolling. Also, I gotta say, maybe my favorite goal song in the entire league. The goal, Simple Mind, it's awesome, and everybody sing it. La la la. It's awesome, dude. It's so much fun. I will say this too, obviously the Demko thing was an unfortunate stumbling block to have to deal with, but it ended up really not being one because of Artur, She Loves You. Yeah. That guy was phenomenal. As a fan watching that, what were the emotions like from going to, oh no, our big cat's gone, to let's see what this kid can do, to holy cow, he's playing really, really well? What was that roller coaster like?
Well, yeah, I mean, you win game 1 and everybody's absolutely on top of the world. And then the next day it comes crashing down when you hear that Thatcher Demko is going to be out. And then game 2 happens and the fans are chanting Casey, getting behind Casey DeSmith. And he doesn't play bad, but he lets the first goal in. and they lose that game. And then Artur Shilovs comes in. Look, this was the guy nobody's really heard much of. The only thing we heard of him was before this year was he won MVP of the World Championships last year for Latvia, and that was really it. But we just saw a calming influence with this guy. When he was in the net, you weren't really worried. When a lot of times you're watching the games and there's back and forth action. Now the Canucks didn't have a whole lot of back and forth action, but when the Oilers were hemmed in their end, Shilovs just exuded so much confidence and calmness that as a fan, it was totally fine. Here's the other thing too. They now have a succession plan per se if they want to go down that route where he's proven that he can be an NHL caliber goalie. He's probably going to be the backup next year. And then you kick the can down the road with Demko. Look, Demko, Vezina finalist, one of the best goalies in the NHL, but injuries are a bit of an issue, right? So you need a reliable backup goalie, which they now have. And I think with him, you could see maybe he could be the goalie of the future. He's going to need a couple of years in the NHL as a backup to get some seasoning, but I think he has the mentality and the intangibles to be a number one goalie in the NHL.
I don't want to jump the gun here. Sorry, Clarkey, but
it's okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
I am, and let's not put all the pressure of the world on this kid, but the way he played, like you mentioned, the calmness and the poise, that was what really impressed me. And his rebound control and mechanics in particular, when he did let a rebound out, very calm recovery, not splayed out all over the place like a guy we watched in Toronto for the last couple of years. And, it kind of reminded me, and again, I don't want to put undue pressure on the kid, but it kind of reminded me a little bit of when Braden Holtby came on the scene for my guys. He was almost the fourth string goalie, really. Mm-hmm. And they called him up as an emergency in the playoffs, made his debut in the playoffs, and carried on against Boston and did an unbelievable job wearing Hershey Bears gear. And then, turned into a Vezina winner, turned into a cup winner. Now, I'm not saying all that's on the horizon for She Loves You. Yeah. But what I am saying is it gave me similar vibes. And ultimately, that ties into my next question for you, Justin, in closing about your Canucks. Looking forward, the future looks pretty bright here, but there's some stuff to deal with this offseason. What are some number 1, 2, maybe 3 things that you would want Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin to target in the offseason?
You got to bring Nikita Zadorov back. Now, the thing is, what's the price point going to be? I know a lot of people in Leafland want Nikita Zadorov because, Brad Treliving did bring him in Calgary, but I think he just brought that swagger and that confidence to that defense core. He is well loved in the locker room. I think with a guy Nikita Zadorov would be the number 1. I think with how thin the Canucks are on the wing, they're going to need to add 2 to 3 more wingers. You're seeing it that you need guys on the flank to score goals and to put the puck in the back of the net. Part of the reason why Pettersson did struggle was because he was playing with Niels Höglander, who scored 24 goals in the regular season, but was invisible. And then Ilya Mikheyev, who the puck is literally a grenade on his stick and where chances go to die. That was not, you need a guy. So do they go big game hunting for a guy like Jake Gensel? That would not surprise me whatsoever. I think that, and then also re-sign Dakota Joshua would be the 3. A big-time winger, re-sign Joshua, and find a way to keep Zadorov.
I have one more Canuck question, Ryan, before we move on here.
Yeah.
We have a little segment on the show, Justin, called the Couch Potato.
Right.
And it highlights either great efforts from teams or players or maybe poor efforts. And early in the season, in the preseason, in fact, I named the Vancouver Canucks my Couch Potato after I think it was a 10-0 loss in preseason. When did you see this team turn things around and think, because they missed the playoffs last year, if I'm not mistaken, and thinking this team is pretty good. They have a chance to go somewhere.
Well, Clarkey, it's going to be kind of funny. Last year, if you remember, when they fired Bruce Boudreau and Rick Tocchet, they were on a nearly 100-point pace to finish the year last year. So I kind of thought, all right, there's something here. Did I expect them to get 109 points and 50 wins? No. I think what really got to me was when I realized one day that they were first place in the NHL. I think it was maybe in December, before Christmas, that I was like, holy, Like they're first place in the NHL right now.
Yeah.
And I think that to me was like, holy, like, this team can do something.
Mhm.
At the end of the season, it looked kind of dicey with Edmonton catching up, but I think it really kicked into my head that this would be something special around Christmas time when you look up at the standings, and for the first time in over a decade, the Canucks were atop the NHL
Mhm.
standings. So
Mhm.
looking forward to next season, and hopefully, and like I said before, this is just the beginning. You can't let your foot off the gas pedal. You have to. The bar has been raised. The playoffs are a bare minimum now. You have to
Mhm.
go push forward to be in the Final Four and be in the Stanley Cup Finals now. There's no more complacency. The fans got a taste of it this year. They're gonna want more, and nothing short of
Mhm.
that expectation is gonna be a failure.
Let's get right into the next
Yeah.
round. Edmonton against Dallas. Who do you like?
Oh boy. So the Canadian hockey fan in me would like to see the Oilers win the Stanley Cup, but the realist and the Canuck fan I am, forget it. I'm going with the Dallas Stars. I think they're the deepest team in the NHL. From 1 to 23, they are the deepest team. They have experience with guys like Joe Pavelski. Tyler Seguin is still producing. Matt Duchene, right now he's hurt, but just the fact that these guys have the ability to run four lines, a guy who now Quinn Hughes is the best defenseman in the NHL, right? Cale Makar is up there, but Miro Heiskanen, guys, I watched this guy play. He is an absolute stud on the back end. And then again with the Vancouver flavor, I would like to see our boy Chris Tanev get a cup. I think he's a guy that's just been the consummate pro his whole career. But from his time in Vancouver, Quinn Hughes to this day still raves about how much he loves Chris Tanev, how much of a mentor figure he was for him in the NHL. That's why the Canucks were so hot with him on the deadline. I think Dallas is very deep, but I will say, if something about McDavid and Draisaitl, when you watch them in a playoff series, every time they hop on the ice, your heart rate increases and you're scared because those two guys, and now McDavid didn't have a great season against the Canucks. Can he go back to being McDavid? That's a possibility, but I'm going to go with Dallas. They're just too deep.
Yeah, I picked Dallas to win the cup in like September, so I'm going to continue rolling with them as well. I like Dallas in 6 games simply for the Skinner factor. Like Skinner and Picard versus Ottinger, no thanks. I think that Dallas's D core is deeper, and like you mentioned, Justin, like they have a bunch of guys on their team that are kind of like the old savvy veterans that everybody would like to see lift the cup. Tanev. Ryan Suter's out there making contributions. Duchene, everybody would celebrate if Joe Pavelski, he would be the guy, I think, other than maybe Suter, but I think it would be Pavelski. He would probably get the cup second after Jamie Benn. I personally love Jamie Benn. Guys like that. I love the Stars. The Oilers, they're going to need McDavid to go McJesus levels here. Like he's going to have to go full Super Saiyan Goku here, if I can make a Dragon Ball Z reference for all the younger viewers out there, Clarkey. I know you're not going to catch that one.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I will say this too, the Oilers, this is an insane stat. Like when you think back to the 80s with Gretzky and everybody running around, McDavid, the Oilers were the first team ever in playoff history to have 3 guys with 20 plus points after 2 rounds. McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard. Evan Bouchard's going, next level here, but that's an insane stat. So yeah, I agree. Clarkey, what do you think? Who are you going to pick here?
Yeah, I like the Stars too. I think they might polish them off pretty quick in 5 games. What I picked, I just like their goaltending. Ottinger's a great goaltender, and I think coaching, they have a huge advantage. I mean, you got a coach basically learning on the job in Edmonton, and Pete DeBoer, like, don't go to Game 7, he'll beat you for sure. But DeBoer and Steve Spott, former Marley head coach, back there. So I think Dallas will win, and I think they'll do it in 5 games.
I will say this though, if I may. Chris Knobloch, again, like you, Clarkey, I just kind of thought he was going to, go with the flow and learning on the job, but he made some ballsy moves to bench Stuart Skinner and then to come back to him in elimination games and then to sit a guy like Corey Perry, who has playoff experience, and bring in a guy like Sam Carrick, who's brought some edge to that bottom 6. He's made some nice moves, and I will say this about the Oilers. Their penalty kill is very good, and their defense is pretty solid, right?
Oh, yeah.
I did not expect that, but they are very solid on the back end.
And I don't
They really
subscribe
are.
to the I want a Canadian team to win. I don't subscribe to that. The next Canadian team to win, I want mine, not anyone
Yeah, I
else's.
feel you on that.
Yeah.
I'd rather the Canucks personally because I have a soft spot for them, as I mentioned. But I also don't care if Canadian team wins because I'd rather the Capitals do it again. But that'll be a long time coming. Let's talk about the other conference final. Now, as we record this, it's Thursday, the 22nd, the 23rd, pardon me. We're already a game in. Florida, a tidy 3-0 shutout in game one. But that's not going to deter me, Clarkey. If you don't mind, I'll go first here. I'm going to stick with my pick that I sent to producer Adam. I like the Rangers in 7 because if there's one thing we've seen the Rangers do so far, it's bounce back. Now, they dusted off my Caps, and then Carolina gave them a little scare. And then Chris Kreider came alive in game 6 there. When you push the Rangers, they typically push back. I still like the Rangers to come out of this, but it's going to be a grind. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a game 7 triple OT winner. Give me Chris Kreider on that one too. I'm going to stick with my pick of the Rangers. Justin, what do you think?
Oh, I think the Rangers seem like a team of destiny. 94, President's Trophy, win the Stanley Cup, 2024. President's Trophy, maybe the Stanley Cup. How about Matthew Tkachuk, guys? I watched that game last night. What has he got? 16 points in 12 games. Like, he is built for the playoffs, and Florida's just built a machine. Like, they're very tidy. They're very like workmanlike, and I really would love to see Paul Maurice win a Stanley Cup. I think he's one of my favorite coaches in the NHL. Paul Maurice can coach my team any day of the week. I believe that he has, changed the culture in Florida. And I think just the back end they have with Ekblad and Montour, Forsling, former Canucks draft pick that they gave away. And then you got a guy like, again, up front, Barkov. You can't even say he's underrated anymore. He's probably the best two-way center or one of the best two-way centers of this generation behind Bergeron, maybe. You got guys like Tarasenko, Tkachuk, Bennett, Reinhardt. They're just a machine. And as much as I like New York and I like Panarin, and I think it would be good for the NHL popularity-wise if the Rangers win the Stanley Cup, Florida just seems like, again, same thing with Dallas. They're deep, they're physical, they get good goaltending, and they got the horses that play the best in the playoffs, like Matthew Tkachuk.
Clarkey, what are your thoughts here? I know you don't want to pick the Rangers.
No, but Justin had a lot of great points about the Florida Panthers. Like, there's no question. I love Paul Maurice. He worked for the Leafs when I worked for the Leafs for years, and he was such a good guy, not only a good coach, I thought, but a good guy. Helped us out at Leafs TV immensely all the time, Ryan. I know I've told you this before, but I really like Paul Maurice. He was a guy I could text at 5 minutes to game time as we're wrapping up our pregame show, and he would answer my text and tell me who's in the lineup. Like, he got it. You know what I mean? He got what we were trying to do. Having said that, the goaltending in this series is going to be, I think, incredible with Shesterkin against Bob. And I just don't see how Shesterkin can lose. I know he lost game 1. I think both of those goalies at their best, Shesterkin should be better. I know we saw incredible game play by Bob last year, and I don't think he's been quite as good this year, but that is an awesome team in Florida. But at the end of the day, I think the Rangers, and as long as they don't start playing Rempe and getting into that game, I think the Rangers will win in 7.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic for sure. I just want to touch on this too, Clarkey, because we'll review our second round picks, because of course you and I are competing in a pickoff here, and I do have them here in front of me. Before I do that though, Justin, we were talking about this recently, Clarkey. Like, I think that Sergei Bobrovsky right now could retire and walk into the Hall of Fame. I think he's a Hall of Fame goalie. 2 Vezinas, nominated for a 3rd one this year. Like, and all of the wins, these guys got over 300 wins. Look at the playoffs he's put together. Yeah, the cup's not there yet. Maybe it comes this year. Just on an individual basis, which the Hall of Fame is. I don't like when people throw out, well, he doesn't have any cups into the thing. That's a team achievement that you can be a big part of. But on an individual level, like, I think this guy's already a Hall of Famer and trending toward being a first balloter What do you think of that, Justin? I just think that that guy could walk into the Hall.
It's such a the way I see the Hall of Fame is I think that it should be there should be the highest of highest standards to get into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Or
I agree.
With a guy like Bobrovsky, when I look at this, and I forget who said this, somebody in sports media said this, is when you go into the Hall of Fame, can you tell the story of the sport without can the story of the sport be told without mentioning that guy's name? Right? It's a little bit different in hockey, but when you talk about this era and this generation of hockey and goaltenders, right? You kind of went from the Lundqvist Price era to now where, the Vasilevsky had a little run. And I think we can say during that period of time, the last couple of years, that if you wanted one goalie to win you a game, it was Andrei Vasilevsky. But to piggyback off your point, if the Panthers can get another cup run in here, I certainly think that it's possible that Bobrovsky is a surefire Hall of Famer. I think back-to-back cup runs in this era, in the Cap era, is nothing to sneeze at. To be a guy who's stolen games. I mean, what about that first round series with him and Vasilevsky? That goaltending duel they put on a couple times there, right? Just goaltending at its finest. So I see it. Do I think he's a first ballot though? No, but I could see the stats backing it up for him, and he's got the individual hardware as well. And look, Roberto Luongo made the Hockey Hall of Fame without winning a Vezina, so I mean, it's possible.
Yeah, for sure. And like his international career was factored in there too. And it deserved to be. Absolutely. It deserved to be. For Bob, I guess, like on the story factor you brought up, a big story of the modern NHL has been expansion and, at times aggressive expansion, which I would say Columbus was kind of part of in that late 90s, early 2000s pocket. That franchise became relevant because of him. Like Rick Nash was all they had, and they made the playoffs one time and got swept. Bobrovsky and having Panarin there too brought them some respect. And like Bobrovsky, other than Rick Nash, I'd actually even say above Rick Nash, which may be controversial. I actually think he's the greatest Blue Jacket of all time. Like he won 2 Vezinas. Rick Nash was an unbelievable player. He never won a Hart. He never was voted a Ted Lindsay winner or anything like that. Like Bobrovsky did significantly insane things in the context of a very sad franchise. When you talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets, it's an interesting conversation for sure. Clarkey, do you want to quickly go over these second round picks? I have them in front of me here, and I know producer Adam has them. I wonder what Justin will think of what we did here. You had the Boston Bruins beating Florida, and I know why. You didn't want the Bruins to continue on because, you're...
No, it's usually just because every team... Yeah, because every team that beats the Leafs in the first round usually goes to the finals.
Yes, you had them in 6 games. That didn't come to fruition. You did have the Rangers in 6 games. Yeah. You had the Oilers in 5 games. Very disrespectful to Justin Pooni's Canucks. Yeah. Very disrespectful. Okay. And you had Dallas in 7, which, close enough.
3 out of 4.
3 out of 4. My picks, I went 3 out of 4 as well. I had Florida in 5. I had the Rangers in 6. I had the Nucks. I wanted to believe, and I did believe, and I don't regret it. I had the Nucks in 7. And, the first 30 minutes of that game, be damned, they almost pulled it off. And I had Dallas in 7. I had to give Colorado that benefit of the doubt, right? No, so I think overall, pretty darn good. Justin, what were you thinking going into round 2? Was this about what you saw?
Yeah, I saw. Well, no, I thought I took Colorado, but I took Canucks in 7. I thought Colorado would win in 7. Just thought with that McKinnon, Makar, but. Again, Dallas outclassed them. And then out east, I had Florida winning, and I had Carolina winning in 6. So I was a bit off there. I just thought, again, I looked at what Rod Brindamore's done. I'm okay, they've been knocking on the door. Maybe finally they're going to, take that next step. And again, they just weren't able to. But that was a very close series. That Rangers-Carolina series, those first 3 games could have gone anyway. Right. So I'm excited, though. I think the NHL and Gary Bettman would love a New York Dallas. final or a
No
Florida
doubt.
Dallas final. I think they do
No
not
doubt.
want Edmonton at all in the Stanley Cup Finals, even though they got Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. But it's going to pay me to say, but these are the 4 best teams in the league that are remaining. And I think we can all kind of one way or another agree or disagree, but those 4 teams are, the elite of the elite in the NHL.
I absolutely agree. Well, here's hoping, because Vancouver's probably my favorite Canadian team, and I love it out there.
Dude, you've never told
too.
me that. We've done this show for 6 years. Now we got a guy on who loves the Canucks. All of a sudden,
listen,
you've been telling me for years you want the Leafs to win. You'd really like me to.
I would like them to win for you.
Yeah,
I don't care about the masses.
Never heard this,
general.
Justin. Never heard this.
Vancouver, my best friend lives there. I love the city. I go 2 or 3 times a year to visit. It's a beautiful place. It's my favorite place in the world. I love Vancouver. So
is Earl still there? Is Earl still downtown there? I used to go to Earl's.
Earl's is down. There's actually a couple Earl's now downtown.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
I've only been there once for the
locations.
draft.
Yeah.
With Leafs TV, I went there to cover the draft when it was there.
06, 05, 06.
Was it Carey Price?
No, that was the Eric Johnson draft when he went first.
That's right. That's right.
Anyway,
That was the Eric Johnson
that's the only
year.
time I've been there.
Yeah.
I'll come back.
Good times. Hey, there's some sneaky locations downtown. All right, there's some sneaky spots.
Absolutely.
The Vogue, let's go. Seen
Yes,
some great
Vogue
concerts
Theater.
there.
Yeah.
How about the Vogue? And I also want to give a shout out to my friends at the Rock Shop. Okay, I've blown a lot of money at the Rock Shop. Okay, a lot of money.
What's that? What is
the
that?
Rock Shop? It's just like an old school T-shirt place. They've got lots of old shirts that aren't in circulation anymore. It's a great spot.
Nice.
And I also want to give a special shout out to my friends at Jam. Now, Jam is the greatest breakfast place on planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Justin, I don't know if you've been to Jam.
I haven't, but I've heard about it.
Next time you go home, and you got to get in line before 8 a.m. If you're not in line, you're going to wait. You're going to wait. They have like 30 different Eggs Benedict dishes. I always get the fried chicken Eggs Benedict.
All right.
It's the greatest breakfast place of all time. Jam, we love you over here. All right. We love you here on Instigating. And we love our friend Justin Pooni of Homestand Leafs. You can find it on all your favorite podcast apps, just like this show. Justin, thanks so much for doing this, my friend. And hey, take it easy on our friend Albert. All right. You bringing the heat on the guy, but ease it off for the summer.
I got to keep the heat on him. Although somebody's got to keep him in check. Right. So thanks a lot, boys. And I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Justin Pooni of Homestand Leafs. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find the podcast everywhere. If you're a Leafs fan, it's must-listen content, all right? Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm very excited. Our golf insider, longtime golf pro and instructor, Ian Doig, is going to come on. We're going to review the PGA Championship. A lot of wild storylines to get into. Arrests, Schauffele's first championship. There's so much to cover next here on Instigating. Welcome back to Instigating with Clarkey and Drury, brought to you by Conway Furniture, our friends at Larry Hudson, Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, the Listowel Squash Courts. Thanks to our buddy Justin Pooni, co-host of Homestand Leafs, for chatting about the playoffs so far in the NHL.
By the way.
Okay. Clarkey, go ahead.
There's something wrong with a Canuck fan hosting a Leaf podcast. I didn't want to say it.
No, he's
fantastic. No, there is.
Listen to the show.
No.
He's so good.
You should have Leaf fans on the Leaf podcast. Right, Doigie?
I actually
right,
think
Doigie?
it's great that he's not there.
I like opposing views.
Yes, that's what makes the show good.
Yeah.
Albert's
but you're a Leaf fan, and we get them from you. So there you go.
And Justin, well, you always say he's not a Leaf fan, though.
Well,
and that's
technically he's not.
And yes, he is. But Doigie's a realist. He's a pessimistic fan because
let's keep the hockey chat going before we get into golf.
He's been hurt too many times. And producer Adam, I know you have the old video here of before the playoffs. This was right after Clarkey's lone win. Now it was the Masters. He won the Masters pickoff. We tried to pull a fast one on him and make him think he didn't.
No,
but
you didn't try to do anything. You actually made a mistake.
I didn't make a mistake.
You did.
It wasn't.
It was.
I'll have Kate tell you what I cooked up. She'll vouch for me that it was an intentional wool pulling, if you will. Now, right after that, we got talking about what was then leading into another first-round matchup between the Bruins and Leafs. And producer Adam, you've got it teed up here. This is what our friend Ian Doig had to say about the series.
Wow. And then for them to show up in Tampa and play that game, are you kidding me? They're not ready. They're not good enough. And the other thing on top of all of that is the Boston Bruins are pissed off about losing in the first round last year, and they're not going to lose again in the first round this year. No chance. I give Toronto 5 games maximum.
Flip that on him.
Wow. Clip that. Yes. We look, Doig. There you go. And we did clip it. We clipped it to save for Doigie. And, Doigie, you were basically right. I mean, they
no
almost
chance.
went out in 5
I remember
games.
the words, no chance. And that's what got me riled up a little. No chance.
Well, they didn't have a chance.
They absolutely had. You go to game 7 in overtime, Doigie, you have a chance.
They're not
what
good
happened
enough.
Before that?
They're not good enough. They don't know how to play with heart.
No, and we saw that again, and that's how it all shook out. Now, we didn't necessarily foresee the Leafs pushing it to a game 7 based on the first 5 games. I mean, game 2, they played really well, but 3 and 4 were, I would argue, some of the worst playoff performances we've seen out of this core. Now, they end up pushing it to 7, which a lot of people, yourself included, Doigie, I'm sure, probably didn't see coming. Now, to transition that off the back of that thought to the golf world, another thing that sports fans didn't see coming was the arrest of the number one player in the world.
Talking about the Maple Leafs.
We are, Clarkey.
We got a new coach. Wait a minute. Hold on. Craig Berube. What do you think, Doigie?
You know what? We're going to have to sit back and wait and see. It's going to depend on what Tri-Living does to bring Berube's type of players in, who they move in, who they bring, move out and stuff like that. I think it's a good hire, but you know what? I think Gerard Gallant would have been a good hire. I think that, if I had my way in a perfect world, I would have been able to, go out and get John Cooper or Sullivan or somebody like that. But with everything that was available, I think Craig Berube is a good pick, and we're going to have to sit back and see. I do know this. There isn't going to be any whining done on the bench anymore.
No, that's over.
Right?
That's over.
Done.
Well, it's over for 2 reasons, probably. One is the new coach. 2 is the whiner might not be there.
Yeah,
you think he's going to be gone?
I do. I just think that for a couple reasons, they can get an awful lot back for him. Yes, you're giving up 100 points a year. We know that. We know that going in. But would I give up 100 points a year to get a stud defenseman or a stud goaltender in return? Absolutely 100%. Plus, you move all that money off.
And this is where you and I actually have always been on the same page with Mitch Marner. I've always said this team is never going to win with Mitch Marner, and I think it's proven. So we're on the same page there.
Yeah, and that's not to say that he can eventually someday become a Stanley Cup champion somewhere else. It's
Absolutely.
more just in this current team, with this current setup and the cap structure they have, it can't be done with this group here. And I'm sorry, 8 years, really, if you want to talk about the payment of the players, it's really about a 5-year window where they've tried this out and it just does not work. So that's where it is. And I agree. I think Berube's a good hire. Okay. Can we transition to golf now? We're here to talk about golf.
Not quite yet, because what I want to say is I like what Berube said, and that we're not going to worry about the core 4. We're going to worry about being a team.
Yeah. And
to me, right there, that sets a whole different tone. I mean, for 8 years, we've been talking about the core 4. Well, what has the core 4 done for us? Really, nothing. And I know I've brought this up in the past, but I was talking to somebody else about hockey here the last couple of days down in the States. And when I brought this up to them, they kind of looked at me sideways. We as Leaf fans are dying for them to win the Stanley Cup. But the Toronto Maple Leafs, in the history of the Toronto Maple Leafs, have never won more than 2 series in the playoffs. Ever.
We know that.
Right? So we got a long way to go to win 4.
We know that.
So
it's fine. It's fine.
So let's see what happens. All right, let's talk.
Do you think they move anyone else? Do you think they try to move Morgan Riley? What do they do with Tavares?
You're killing me here, Clarkey. You're killing me. We can't do this.
What do you think?
I know why he's doing it too, Ryan.
Yeah, he's doing it to make me angry, and we're just going to blow right past this. We'll talk about this
I
later.
want Doigie's opinions on the
draft's like a month away. No, we're not doing this. I'm going to retake control of this.
We have
you know what?
We have a new coach. We have maybe guys getting traded. We lots to talk about.
Yeah, when it happens,
all golf all the time.
When it happens, but we have a limited time with our friend who's a busy guy. This guy's a pro.
He's
golfer.
not. Look at him,
golf instructor.
Look at him.
No, listen,
he's not busy.
He's got a serious tan on because he's been playing a lot. This guy's busy, and frankly, I think you're being rude, Clarkey. You're wasting our buddy's time here. So let's talk about golf.
His time.
Yeah. Well, you're wasting mine. Right. So let's move on to golf.
All right.
Hey, you're going to Pebble next week, eh?
He is. Tell us about Pebble.
Tell us
Thank
about
God.
So I fly out Sunday morning bright and early for the Perry Parker Invitational Pro-Am being played at Pebble Beach. We played 2 rounds at Pebble Beach, 1 round at Spyglass Hill, 1 round at Spanish Bay Links. We're staying at the Spanish Bay Lodge right on the Pacific Ocean. It's a spectacular week. It's a great tournament. It also raises money for the Hemophilia Association. My friend Perry, who I played on tour with, has hemophilia. And so this raises money. My hope is it will raise about $100,000 for it. Good sponsors. It's a pro-am, so I'm taking 3 gentlemen from town here in Barrie with me. It's kind of a bucket list thing for them to do. And we're going to hang out and play golf on those iconic golf courses. And maybe, just maybe, we might drink a little bit of wine in the evening. Maybe.
I like the sound of all of this. Best of luck to you and your team out there.
Have you ever played Pebble?
I have, yeah.
Okay.
It's been a long time ago, but back in the 80s, I was able to play out there a couple times. So.
Are you going to meet up with anyone? I know, like, you met Jack Nicklaus last year. Like, is there any meet and greets lined up?
There will be, but not really big names. There's some guys that played on the tour that are playing, like Bob May, who lost in a playoff to Tiger Woods at Valhalla a number of years ago on the PGA. He's playing. Keith Clearwater's playing. A couple of my mates from Australia that I played when I played overseas are flying up from Australia to play, so I'll get to see them. So a little more personal stuff. Nice. And I'll get to hang out with those guys and have a lot of fun during the week. It's gonna be fun.
And I have some breaking news, Ryan. Doigie let me in on this. I don't know if he's told you, but what's the next major, Doigie? The
U.S. Open.
The U.S. Open. We may have a special guest come on our show, right?
Yes.
Go ahead, break it.
Well, it was announced a couple of weeks ago that Gary Koch has been hired back by NBC Sports to commentate at the U.S. Open at Pinehurst. And the day the announcement was made, I was playing golf with Mr. Koch, and we got to talking, and I asked him if he would be interested in coming on the podcast, on the show. And he said, absolutely, I would do that for you. We just have to make the arrangements to get it done. So I just got to find out scheduling and try and figure out with him and me, get us both together at the same time, and he'd be happy to come on. So let's hope we get it done before or just before the U.S. Open. If we can't, I know he'll be busy that week, so we would be better off doing it the week before.
Yep.
And if we can't get it done then, we'll bring him on the week after. So
there we go, Ryan.
Happen. It will happen. So Gary Koch is coming on the show.
Gary Koch, you heard it here. This is very exciting. And I'd like to officially, if we can, almost do a restart of the show. This is Instigating with Doigie and Drury. I love it. This is fantastic. This is great. All right. I want to dig in to obviously a couple things because 2 massive things happened last weekend at the PGA Championship. And one, of course, was the wild arrest of Scotty Scheffler. And more video came out this week. Like, the arresting officer, like, they made it sound like this guy ran a bunch of people over and he dragged the officer 100 yards and all this wild stuff. Well, that clearly didn't happen. Scotty was absolutely in the wrong here. And unfortunately, the accident that he tried to drive around to get to the driving range claimed someone's life. Like, this was a serious police investigation. Like, Scotty made a big mistake here, but the police on their initial report made it sound like it was so much worse. Like, what a joke that is. And, Scotty's going to have to, answer to some of this. Like, he was initially facing some It's pretty serious charges, including assaulting a peace officer. But that was a wild scene. And then he goes out and he shoots 66 that day on the Friday, Doig. I mean, like, this guy's a machine.
Well, we'll go back to the scene beforehand in a minute. But I said this a few weeks ago on the show about Scotty Scheffler, and I said he is not of this world. I think he's from another planet. And for all of that to happen that morning, for him to spend the time in the jail cell doing his stretching in an orange jumpsuit.
Yeah, and a mug shot, yeah.
And doing a mug shot and everything that's going on around him, to then show up at the golf course just almost an hour before his tee time with all of that going on, and goes out and he birdies his first hole and goes on to shoot 66. I'm like, I might have shot 106 after all of that going on. Like, holy Hannah. And he said that he was shaking the whole time and his heart was elevated and everything. But to shoot the score that he shot was incredible. Now, all of that said, obviously, I wasn't there when it happened, but I will, to go to his defense a little bit, I've been pulling into the golf course early in the morning, in the dark, raining, and they always have, pylons up to direct traffic. They always have police cruisers sitting there with the flashing lights. They'll have guys out in the lanes with flashlights and everything. So in his defense, I could see where Scotty Scheffler just kind of thought it was a normal morning, and the misunderstanding of what the police officers were doing, because it had not been reported that somebody had been killed yet, right? So he would not have known that. And in the dark, in the rain, early in the morning, driving up, I could see myself doing the exact same thing Scotty did. I could see myself kind of looking and go, okay, there's a little fender bender here. I'm just going to go around it and get out of everybody's way and get into the clubhouse, right? And then apparently the officer screamed at him and grabbed the car and apparently was dragged and everything else. But I know initially the other day they said they thought the charges were going to be dropped, but when he went in on Tuesday, they were not dropped. They're still moving forward with them. So I was a little surprised at that.
Yeah, it's a developing situation for sure. We'll see what happens there. It was just a wild scene, and he goes out there and shoots 66, like wild stuff. And then during the tournament, of course, Xander Schauffele finally gets over the hump. And say what you want about the course playing really easy, and Valhalla was set up poorly, and guys were annihilating the course. He beat everybody else. The course played the same for everybody else. So I really disagreed with some of the takes on some of the golf podcasts I listened to of people going, it was a bit of a cheap win, if you will. I don't agree. I'm happy for Xander. I thought he was great. Shot a 62 during his run. Shane Lowry almost shot a 61, which would have been a record. Like that. Just some insane scores were being put up. And again, congrats to Xander and all that. But speaking of insane scores, producer Adam, you've got it prepped here. The other significant thing, because I said two big things happened this weekend, and all due respect to Xander, one was the Scheffler situation. The other was the king wearing his crown again, and that's me. 5 wins now. Hello. And the PGA Championship is a major, and I took it in disgusting fashion. Clarkey DQ'd. 2 guys missed the cut. They weren't playing on Sunday. It's a tough one. Windy Wyndham, he let you down, brother.
He did.
And I absolutely assaulted the team pickoff this week. And I did it as I was sitting in the parking lot ready to head out for the wedding party getaway that I booked. So I didn't even really look. I just went on
proves its luck.
Gut instinct. No, I went on gut instinct because I know these guys. Luck. I knew Valhalla was going to be playing very easy because of the way they set the course up. And so I took heavy hitters. And what I did was Schauffele, I had him. I got the 3-stroke bonus for the win. Morikawa was nasty. Sahith Theegala is starting to become my favorite player. I love Morikawa still. I love watching Sahith Theegala. This guy's going to win some majors. Let me tell you, I finished 51 under. Sorry. I just have to say it. It's 51 under. Doig had a tidy 17 under. Rory did really, really well for him. Smith, Young, Oberg, and Clarkey's team. Koepka, his first pick, he didn't like him. I mean, he finished 9 under. Scheffler was great at 13 under, and Knapp, the guy that Clarkey was trying to, sneak us in there. Oh, we're going to all know who Jake Knapp is by the end of the weekend. Turns out, no, we didn't. And we don't know who Clarkey is either.
You will.
He didn't win. And I won at 51.
He had a great
Thanks
front 9,
much.
and then he blew up on the back 9 in the first.
Did he really? Yeah, no one paid attention.
I did.
51 under.
I paid close attention. Believe me, I kept going
51
on.
under, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
So
congratulations, Ryan. This is what's called
Thank you.
losing with grace, just so you know. Congratulations, Ryan. You did very well. I opened the computer on Sunday morning, and I go, oh, my God, he's got the top 3 guys. Get the top 3 guys. So congratulations. This is what you call losing with grace.
You're an expert
trying
in that,
to
being
pull
a Leaf
the wool,
fan and everything,
not
right?
pulling the wool over a guy and saying, you didn't win.
Yeah.
You didn't win. Ask Kate. Anyway.
Hey, congratulations. Right? You suck.
A lot of complaining going on over there in the top of my screen. A lot of complaining.
I'm not complaining.
It was a pleasure
whatsoever.
to go. Doigy, it was a pleasure to go head to head with you as always. You're going to get the next one. How about that?
Well, that's one major each for you and I, Ryan. Doigy?
I'm putting a shout out, but we've only had 2.
Ludwig Eberg.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, you know what? He missed the cut this week. That happens. The kid will be a superstar. He will be the number 1 player in the world at one point in time.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Mitch Marner's pretty good too.
He's unreal. Yeah, well, Oberg's a little better than him. Ryder Cup and everything. I just want to say as well that the next pickoff, of course, will be the Canadian Open, which is next week at Hamilton Golf and Country Club. My girlfriend's mom, Sil, of course, she's going. She's very excited. So that's going to be a lot of fun for Sil to go and take in some action. Not an elevated event, which still pisses me off, but it's going to be a great field. Doigy, set this up for us. Hamilton Golf and Country Club. What can we expect out of this course for the players?
Your favorite course?
Well, it's one of my favorite golf courses, yes. And it was just redone in the last couple of years. I played it twice last summer. I really enjoyed it. It depends on what the weather does. If we get good weather, dry weather, the golf course can play difficult. But it's not long. As a matter of fact, if I wasn't going to Pebble Beach, I would have tried to qualify for it because it's a length that I could still play. When I played it last summer, I shot 70 and 71 the 2 rounds I played from the back tee. So, I think about the first hole. The last time it was played there, Rory McIlroy drove it on the fringe of the green. And that was, to me, incredible. Now, if they get the rough up and it gets dry, then I think the golf course will play very difficult, and I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 12 under would be the winning score. But if they get rain and it's soft, somebody will shoot 20 under for sure. Yeah, I can see a 61, 60, 62, maybe multiple times during the week if it's wet. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's a good golf course, but it's just not long enough for today's players.
And in that vein, the 25 Canadian Open, I think, was just announced at Osprey Valley, TPC Toronto, I guess it's called. You've played there many times, I'm sure. What do you think of that track?
Well, I have not played the redo. They just opened after a redo, and it's almost 7,500 yards long from the back tees. So that's a pretty long golf course. And, it depends on how wide the fairways are. I don't know. I haven't played it yet. It literally, I think, just opened recently.
Okay. Can you get us on? I'll come up and play with you, and we'll.
Yeah, we can figure it out. Probably. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll figure something out for sure. Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting, and of course, as we mentioned, next week, big pick off coming again. Canadian Open. It's our home open. We got to do picks here, and it'll be 100%. Fun. But more importantly, we're wishing Doigy some very good luck down at Pebble. You're going to have a fantastic time down there, my friend. Clarkey, wrap it up here.
It's been bugging me the whole show. Can you show me your shirt, Doigy? What does your shirt say? No, stand up. We can't.
Running. Nike.
Running. Oh, okay. I kept thinking, what does that say? Winning?
Just do it.
Okay, running.
Before we close, I'm going to just throw a little side thing into the Canadian Open for next week.
Okay.
I think what we should do is still do our snake of 4 players.
Yeah.
But you can't pick any Canadians.
No. You know my strategy.
Hold on. I'm not finished. And then we add a 5th player that has to be a Canadian, so we all pick a Canadian.
Yeah, but that means only 3 Canadians are going to go. I want to pick all Canadians like I always do.
Okay. You can pick Canadians too, but we're going to add a 5th player that is Canadian as well.
Fine.
It has to be a Canadian pick.
Okay. That I can agree with.
Here's my problem though, is like, I'm not going to have Clarkey pick all of the best Canadians and then we're forced to pick what's left. I'm not doing that.
I
don't agree.
That doesn't work.
I don't agree. We're going to do the 5th bonus pick where it's all Canadians. You can't pick Canadians in your initial 4. That's the initial thing. Clarkey.
No. We're not.
But Clarkey,
rules.
You can't. But Clarkey,
I picked all Canadians.
Yeah, Clarkey, you can't.
All right,
you can't go into this and go, I picked Nick Taylor and Corey Connors and Matt Mackenzie Hughes. Like, you can't do that and then go, you're forced to pick the other Canadians.
Then let's not. We're going to throw that part out.
Ryan,
not the real rules.
I'll agree with Clarkey on this one. If we aren't, we got to allow him to pick the Canadians because he's going to pick Corey. He's going to pick Mackenzie if he's available. He's going to pick Nick. And I think his 4th Canadian pick will probably be Ian Leggett.
Fine, Clarkey. Pick whoever you want, and we'll just pick other Canadians.
Mark Evershed playing?
I'm fine with it. Doigy, listen, that's what we'll do. I'm fine with it. We'll let Clarkey have his way because he's a big crybaby. So we'll do that.
I want to play by the rules, dude.
You are Mitch Marner. You're the Mitch Marner of golf pickoffs.
They're going to try to trade Riley?
I would like to. If I were the GM, I would try to move him.
I think they might try. I honestly do.
I look at it and I go, he's been here a long time and he just hasn't pushed anything over the hill to help us out. And
I have a feeling they're going to try to trade him and Marner.
Yeah, and think of the cap space it moves and opens up, and then all of a sudden, I mean, look at. I heard Saros is ready to go. He's. I mean, and
they just cleared cap space trading
McDonough. Exactly. So I mean, I'd be in on that if we could. Sometimes I think that the Leafs are probably try to be in on some of these trades, but the guys don't want to come to Toronto for the taxes and everything else that goes on.
I don't know. Maybe.
I just hope that that's not the case. I hope that guys want to come here and win. Can you imagine if you played for the Toronto Maple Leafs and you won the Stanley Cup?
Mm-hmm.
You'd have 7 schools named after you.
Yeah,
like
you'd never pay for dinner or drink in this city ever again for the rest of your life.
It would be incredible. And you know what else is incredible? Our golf insider, Ian Doig. Doigy, good luck at Pebble next week. Have a ton of fun, my friend. It was great to have you back on the show, my friend. We'll chat next week about Canadian Open picks. All
right, sounds good. And I'll bring some nice pictures from Pebble.
I can't wait, my friend.
Perfect,
all right, we'll take another quick break. When we come back, yes, the slideshow, we'll play it. We'll play it right here on the show, okay? We'll take a quick break this week to wrap up. Clarkey and I will come back. Couch potato time. You know what time it is. That's next here on Instigating. Back to wrap things up here on Instigating with Clarkey and Drury, brought to you by our friends at Conway Furniture. I'm so excited. I'm fumbling my words here. I love the couch potato. That's coming up here. We're brought to you by our friends at Conway Furniture. Larry Hudson, Chevrolet Buick GMC. Deals are always hot. Go over there now. There's so much selection right now. Go see Clarkey. Go see our friends. Trent McClement. Go see our friends over there at Larry Hudson's, okay? Hudson's has it. Deals are hot. You know the drill here. Come on.
40th anniversary sale going on.
Everybody knows our friends at Hudson's has it. The Listowel squash courts as well.
Stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen,
big stuff's
it's time
happening.
For the couch potato.
Big
couch
stuff's
potato
happening
League
at
brought
Hudson's
to you by our friends at Conway Furniture, Highway 86, east end of Listowel. One more time, our friend Phil Main. Where is Conway Furniture?
Conway Furniture, Highway 86, just east of Listowel.
Yeah, that's right, Phil. Thank you, sir.
The fry bus is there too. Speaking of couch potatoes.
the fried
It
rice,
is. It's there.
potatoes, all of it. It's a good mix. They know what they're doing over there at Conway Furniture. And you know why? Because you go in there, the price on everything, it includes HST and delivery. Come on, you know the drill. Let's go. Conway Furniture. Let's go, Clark.
Let's go. Couch potato. Not a lot of time left. Well, you know what? I really did like this guy. And I'm sorry to see him go. I wish him all the best. But it didn't take long for Sheldon Keefe to get another job in the National Hockey League. Off he went to the New Jersey Devils. So congratulations to Sheldon Keefe. I wish him well. Hopefully he doesn't beat my Leafs, but I do wish him well. But my couch potato this week might look like Sheldon Keefe, but it's actually the staff at TSN. I don't know if you saw that or not, but when they first put that board up, they said, congratulations, the New Jersey Devils have fired head coach Sheldon Keefe instead of hired.
It actually said Sheldon Keefe fired as new Jersey head coach.
And we just had that up on the screen. Not sure if you saw that, but
yeah.
I mean, yes, mistakes happen, but that's kind of a big one.
Yeah, you gotta have that right. You gotta double check.
Yeah,
you gotta triple check that stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, that's a good one.
Anyway,
I have a bit of an interesting one here, and put the picture up, producer Adam. My couch potato of the week. Now, no one's going to recognize this guy unless you're a big politics fan. No one is going to recognize my guy, Merrick B. Garland, the Attorney General. And the reason why, now people are thinking, Ryan, this is a sports show. What does this have to do with anything? Well, I'll tell you why. He filed on behalf of 29 states and the District of Columbia a lawsuit against Live Nation and Ticketmaster today, Thursday, May 23rd, to break up the ticketing monopoly that is overseen by the greedy pigs at Ticketmaster and Live Nation. Now, people are saying, hey, hold on just 1 second. Isn't that more to do with concerts? No, because Ticketmaster controls a lot of the sports market as well. And anything that breaks up this monopoly is great for concert goers. Clarkey, you're going to go see Lionel for cheaper for the 50th time, however many times you've seen him.
You're going again. Got my tickets. Buffalo.
You're going again. Well, guess what? If this goes through, those tickets in the future will be cheaper. And potentially lots of sporting event tickets will be cheaper because Ticketmaster will have less control over these ticketing markets. This is great news. How often do we get on a show like this, basically ever, and say, yay, government? How about a win for the government? Thank you very much to Merrick B. Garland and the Department of Justice for breaking up this monopoly. It's going to win. It's going to go through. Anything to take down Ticketmaster off their high horse is a huge win for concert goers and sports fans. Let's go. That's my couch potato of the week. Merrick B. Garland, kick your feet up. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks to our friend Justin Pooni of Homestand Leafs, our buddy Ian Doig, our golf insider. We will be back next week. Canadian Open on deck. Got to make picks. It's going to be fantastic. Everybody excited about Hamilton Golf and Country Club. It's going to be a fantastic weekend of golf. And obviously the conference finals well underway in the NHL. Enjoy that. You can find this show Friday nights at 8, Sunday nights at 9. Our friends, Whiteman TV. That's channel 6 for Whiteman subscribers. Debut on our YouTube channel Fridays at 9. Follow us on social media at InstigatingPod. And remember to find the podcast on all your favorite podcast apps. For our friends at Conway Furniture, Larry Hudson, Chevrolet Buick GMC, the Listowel Squash Courts, we appreciate you watching. And we'll be back next week with more Instigating. See you.